Rudnici Johanesburga proizveli su trećinu cjelokupnog zlata iskopanog u istoriji čovječanstva. Međutim, sada ponestaje zlata, rudnici se raspadaju i grad se suočava s ekološkom noćnom morom, gomilom radioaktivnog otpada koji zagađuje vazduh i pretvara vodu u otrov. Glamurozna baka Mariette Liefferinck odlučna je u nastojanju da razotkrije istinu i prisili industriju zlata da počisti svoj opasni nered. Film prati Marijettin put od domaćice do jedne od 100 najuticajnijih osoba u rudarstvu. Ona vjeruje da je Bog odustao od ljudskog roda i da je njena dužnost da vrati pravdu u svijet. Zlato Johanesburga višestruki je ekspoze rudarskog zagađenja, a ujedno i priča o bogatstvu, ljudskoj ambiciji i modernoj Africi. Silvije Vollenhoven, spisateljica, nagrađivana novinarka i rediteljka, dobitnica MBKODO nagrade za književnost 2016. godine. Njen film u izradi The Keeper of the Comb, historijska priča predaka, prikazan je kao dio Nacionalne fondacije za film i video na filmskom festivalu u Cannesu. Frederik Gerten je nagrađivani švedski reditelj i novinar. Njegove filmove Becoming Zlatan, Bikes vs. Cars, Big Boys Gone Bananas i Bananas publika je imala priliku gledati u više od 100 zemalja na vodećim festivalima. Kreativni je producent u VG filmu, jednoj od najistaknutijih švedskih dokumentarnih produkcijskih kuća, poznatoj po lokalnim pričama s globalnim poimanjem i utjecajem.
I do not wear gold. I wear imitation gold, fake gold. Because I do feel that gold is dirty. I just think that perhaps God has lost his interest in mankind. And that is why I felt it is now my duty to go out and to try and restore some sense of justice.
Papa, ke ntate ke tsamaya le mpho. Ne re tlo bona, it's been some time re sa tle mo wena. A le na peka lona mo tshwana le apply for fele fedile. So ne re tlo bona ga re sa tlhagolela. So le ntse le go le ntse le phela mnata bana go mnati go le re gopule. Mathata mangata mo rona. Then I've been like, for the past 3 years, going for the 4th year. Now, if there's anything you can do, guys, really, I'm planning more.
Tour. You will be exposed to radioactivity, but it will be short exposure. The wind is not blowing, so there will be no inhalation or ingestion of radioactive and toxic dust. The moment we get to the treatment plant, you will see this water is black because of all the heavy metals.
Now what we do is with this first?
Yeah. This was identified as one of the high-risk radiological metals are in solution. When lime is added, this is when lime has been added, the heavy metals drop out. The mines wish to argue that it's merely nuisance dust, while we all know it's toxic and radioactive dust. Please look into these pipes, then you will see the heavy metals. Be careful, it's sliding.
No, it's not.
No, I'm sorry. But we must have fun. There is almost like a thundering out of water that is void water, mine void water from underground. And it flows out and it appears to be pristine. It is a very clean appearance of the water.
Now, when you are busy mining, you drain the mine because you cannot mine safely without having drained the mine. But then when the mine stops mining, the mine cavity, the so-called mine void, floods. And this starts the process.
Once the mining activity is over, then they turn off the pumps and gradually the water fills up the void. The bubble basically fills up slowly and eventually it starts coming out on surface. Now the water that comes out on surface is water that's spent some time underground and it's reacting with this pyrite. So the water that comes out is acidic and is very rich in iron and manganese and other nasty elements. So it's toxic basically. So it's not only the acidity that's the problem, but there are dissolved in that water a lot of other heavy metals. And it also contains uranium. And that gets mobilized into the environment and dispersed.
While we generally associate Johannesburg with gold, Igoli, the city of gold, Gauteng, the city of gold, it's actually also a city of water. It's a city on the continental watershed divide. It's a city that also happens to be on top of one of the largest underground aquifer systems in the world.
So any pollution that happens near the top affects the downstream users in a big way.
The dam was full of fish, all kinds of birds came here to breed. That's all gone. You don't see any nests around, there's just nothing.
Ek het 600 kuikens gekry. Wat ek geslag het, was so 530. Die hoender se lewers was ontsettend groot, so groot soos my hand.
Oor maar ek het skape gehad wat blind gebore was op. En dit was nie 1 of 2 nie, dit was op pad.
Dan word hulle gebore en dan hulle soek 'n lang jelly.
Ja, dan is daar
nie beentjies nie.
Daar is
Nee, kom beentjie nie.
My wife started getting sick. There was just nothing that they could do for her. Cancer. And since the time that she died, there's a lot of other women in the area of the women have died.
Acid mine drainage there are 2 sources really. The one source is the water in the mine void. However, there's another source though, and that's the dumps. They extract the gold and everything else, including the iron sulfide, goes to the dumps. This iron sulfide, when it's exposed to oxygen and water, reacts chemically to produce sulfuric acid. And that is the problem. It's literally billions of tons. Billions of tons. But the number is so big that it's incomprehensible. It's way beyond our normal zone of comfort as far as number sizes are concerned. It's just humongous.
We call them the mountains of Johannesburg.
We used to go play on them because we were fascinated with the sand and the waters running and she also thinks it's beautiful.
That was a fun place to play. And dune surfing, we did that already in the 60s and 70s.
They play in there, cowboys and crooks. Some people take it for walks, some people use it for shooting range. They go and practice with their guns in there.
So we'll take like your cupboards and then you come play here with sandboard. So you'll be sitting from that point down there. Sometimes they'll be glowy, you know, and you like get that glowy thing and we're like, wow, what's that?
Toe dat we naar de jaren nog gaan, toen kan mensen nog zien dat je wind waait. Mensen kan amper niet lopen. En dan maken de eerste toe, mond toe, stof. Als je wind waait, de stof waait, recht hier jullie blijft toe.
Oeh, als die stof waait, man, je sterven hier zo. Ons moet die stoepers asfalt tot binnen jou voorreizen. Waai die wind en de kinders het eerst maar door die stof.
The issue of the dust is really bad, you know. When you drive, you have to keep your headlights on. That's how bad it is. And it's white all over the place. It's a mess.
You would find all the sister elements of uranium here, things like strontium and so on. And what happens with uranium is that it goes straight for your DNA codes. And if it rewrites your DNA codes, then the children that gets born from you get born with heads that are either too small or too big, with arms that are deformed, with bodies that are deformed.
Uranium gives off a particle that's not particularly dangerous. It's called an alpha particle. It's not dangerous. You could handle uranium metal without any risks to your well-being. But once it's ingested, it can cause trouble because it can penetrate cell walls. That's what makes it dangerous. So it's ingestion of the uranium that's the problem.
You know, when the wind is blowing, it's like, you know, something is kind of like pinching you or something. So you can imagine now something going down your throat, something like that.
Look, you see the floor's full of dust there.
Yeah, I can see.
The front there by the doorways, you can see all of this now is in the shelves.
Yeah, no,
it's
it
in the
looks
shelves.
terrible, yeah.
On the products, on the till points, on everybody. On everybody.
The children are suffering with skin problems on the head, on the face. They've got eczema. Uncle Stan is late now. He was also on the oxygen machine. I've got a friend of mine. She couldn't go anywhere. She had to stay on this machine 24/7. And then we had 2 newborn babies. It was a twin. The one twin died, and the other twin is also on this machine. All this area where the dunes are responsible for this. All around here, the dust, we all live in this dust. This dust is affecting everybody.
We started getting some more problems. The situation is getting so bad in this area now.
My throat that hurts, my eyes goes red, my skin gets red and swollen.
I grew up here. I remember as a small boy being able to go swimming in the Blessbox Spring. In the morning, your eyes are glued together. Your chest is like, yeah, you wake up and your eyes are like literally glued together. There used to be salamanders in this place. There's nothing left.
Johannesburg is home to approximately 20 to 25% of the total South African population. They are all exposed to this stuff. How many people are being impacted by radioactivity and heavy metals arising from more than a century of mining, and people either live on top of them or right next to them?
The anecdotal evidence, the stories of cancers are overwhelming. There is a problem. I cannot state it's only as a result of the causal link must still be proved between acid mine drainage and high incidences of cancers. There is also anecdotal evidence of mental retardation. I may just mention to you, there is a sick joke going around that if a child can count to 10, he has not been born in one of these mining areas. I was very perplexed that no one knew about the risks or the hazards, that no one seemed to talk about these risks or hazards, because the visible evidence is there, but it is as if the whole issue is shrouded in secrecy. There is a reticence, almost an avoidance of talking about these matters. We can't be silent on these matters. We have to speak out. People need to know. Hello, this is Mariette Liefferinck. I wish to lay a complaint, and I would... but this is almost the 10th time that I'm phoning, and I do not get through to the correct officials. The call is often transferred from the one to the other, and I would like... Mr. Bama. Nee, wat is his name? Sorry, I'm looking for Mr. Mr. Bama. Where did I put this? Mr. Bana.
Mr. Bana?
Yeah.
You can go to the reception.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's your first name?
My name is Mariette Liefferinck.
I want to help you. It's important that
and I also wish to assist you.
Yes, no.
Because I understand
but
that you are the last man
I get the impression that you think I don't want to help you. All I'm saying is that I know and I understand you coming from Joburg, but what I'm saying is that the person that you want to see is in a meeting. So
How long
at the
will the
moment,
meeting take?
I have no idea.
Is there no one else that can authorize that we just have a look at what is being pumped today?
No, listen, I need to run for something else as well.
Yeah,
right?
but is there no other person?
There is no, he needs to give that permission, yeah.
Then we will wait for you.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
We must go, there's now nothing we can do.
It is not just emotional statements. You have to have factual information. So I had to research thousands of pages of documents.
Maar net, ek het hier so 'n paar goedjies nog vir jou wat jy kan kyk.
Wanneer was hierdie verslag geskryf?
Wel hierdie wat ek hier so het is een van my eerste
Ja, okay. En hierdie ene?
2007.
The effects of mining effluent and the aquatic environment. Dis uitstekend.
Ja, en basis van die by Waterlab.
I do not think that I am an intellectual giant. I'm also not a scientist, but I remember well. These are two of my father's law books, South African Criminal Law and Procedure. That whole cupboard has got books on environment. There's a book on physics, geography, physics, and then there are some of the books over here and some of the files. There's also a book on the law of delict, which I often refer to, common law, law of nuisance, the law of negligence, the duty of care, foreseeability, and then there are many of these reports that I've researched. More over here, and then of course I have all the files contain the environmental impact assessment reports of the mining companies, and then of course also the environmental management program reports. I also collected books of literary excellence to use phrases in the books when I corresponded with mining companies or with organs of state, and that I felt was necessary because I am Afrikaans, and I wanted to have a professional approach. Yeah. Physical science alone is of no value. It has to be used for the benefit of society. To merely write papers, scientific papers, and to put it in archives in universities is of no value to anyone. Those physical sciences must be used to the benefit of society. Good afternoon. My name is Mariette Liefferinck. May I please speak to the Deputy Director General? I would like to speak to a person who has decision-making power. I wish to lay a complaint to the discharges of untreated mine water into a river system. I wish you please to investigate the matter and to report back in the absence of a response within 24 hours. I unfortunately will have to escalate the matter to the Department of Water Affairs. This is unacceptable. So if you could please call me back with urgency. If you do not, then I will have to instruct our lawyers to escalate the matter into a legal intervention. Thank you. Goodbye. Even though I may not be a physical scientist, as one of my colleagues said, we have brains. We do understand if there is a risk or a hazard. And it is really extremely disheartening when you present these findings and recommendations to the regulators, the organs of state mandated to protect the public, that they are ignorant of even the existence of these reports. Let me just put my phone off. Oh, you have many books. May I ask your background?
It's a long story, but I am a scientist that used to be a soldier, but it came from the intelligence community. Yes. So my speciality has been about water as a national security risk. So I served under 4 different presidents in my time as an intelligence officer.
So I just would like to know about the risks of acid mine drainage, the health risks.
Mariette, the answer to that is we actually don't really know. What is generally unknown to the broad public is that during the years of isolation of South Africa, for every ton of gold we mined between 10 and 100 tons of uranium. Yes. And for the large portion of the life of our gold mining industry, uranium was considered top secret. It was not even ever written about as uranium. In fact, at that point in time, it was so classified. If you even start working on it or asking questions, you start raising national security attention. And in fact, if you go back to some of the scientific literature, they talk about it as something X, as mineral X. Mineral X is uranium.
So when would you say there was more transparency? Because if it was shrouded in so much secrecy, when was uranium the year, more or less, when uranium was talked about?
Uranium is still not talked about. Uranium is still shrouded in secrecy. We've got 600 kilotons of uranium around Johannesburg, still in the mine dumps, and we know that it blows away when the wind comes. We know that wind can drop the uranium hundreds, if not thousands of kilometers downwind. I hate to sound apocalyptic, yeah. but Johannesburg is the most uranium-contaminated city in the world.
But are the impacts chronic impacts over a long term, or are they acute impacts?
We don't know.
Yeah. But it's a very dark picture you are painting. Not only from an environmental point of view, but from a political point of view.
여기 대체 어디야?
집이지. 우리 새로 시작한다고 그랬잖아. 이게 그거야.
Ne propustite izvrsnu priču o porodici i porodičnim korijenima.
우리 여기 있다가 망할 거야. 애들을 위해서라도 한 번 더 생각해 볼 수 있잖아.
애들도 한 번쯤 아빠가 뭔가 해내는 거 봐야 될 거 아니야.
Film Lia Isaka Changa sa 6 오스카rovskih nominacija.
할머니는 진짜 할머니 같지 않아요.
할머니 같은 게 뭔데?
쿠키도 만들고 나쁜 말도 안 하고 남자 팬티도 안 입고.
Minari.
절대 실패하지 않는 계획이 먼저라.
Film oko koga su se složili i publika i kritika.
No plan. 계획이 없으니 뭐가 잘못될 일도 없고.
Film koji se ne propušta.
I'm deadly serious.
Film nagrađen Oskarom 2020. Parazit.
People were swimming in that lake. It was an entertainment area.
That's toxic beyond toxic. You can actually mine that sediment for uranium. Kijk hier zo, hier is bijvoorbeeld bij een mijn. Kijk je daar zo. Kijk al die besproeiingen rondom het, nee? Dit is hier bij die mijn, wat hulle dan gebruik.
Is dit in die Wesrand?
Dit is op die Wesrand, kijk daar is Robinson mijn. Nee, Robinson meer is daar zo, Nee, hulle vat die grondwater uit, wat vol van die besoedeling is, en hulle besproei al hulle gewasse daarmee.
Sou die metale bio-accumuleer in die gewasse?
Presies dit. Jy weet, so jou ma het altyd vir jou gesê, jy moet jou spinasie eet en jou groente eet vanweë al die minerale en vitamines. Nou, Iran is 'n mineraal, né? So al die gifstowwe gaan in die kos in en mense eet dit. Dit is verskriklik, né? En niemand doen iets om dit te keer nie.
We can't be silent because silence would be almost saying you approve of injustices. We have to speak out.
Is your acid mine drainage, which is classified by the European Environmental Bureau as the second greatest environmental threat next to global warming. Where we are standing now is radioactive land. It's not acute, such as a Hiroshima or Nagasaki or a Chernobyl. It's your low-dose, long-term exposure to radiation. Now, if you come over here, the gold mining industry had been in operation for 120 years, but it left us with 6 billion tons of iron pyrite, which if it combines with oxygen and with water, produces acid mine drainage. There must be a paradigm shift. There must be a change. You cannot see it. You cannot smell it. You cannot touch it. It goes into the body. It is like the wind. This dust, it contains the heavy metal.
So what can be done? What can the community do now?
That they engage with the top management, senior management of the mines. I can arrange such.
So here we are now in Tudor Shaft. This community live on radioactive land. Their houses do not have concrete flooring, so they are exposed to radioactive and toxic metals, both through inhalation, ingestion, and also the crops that are grown in Tudor Shaft.
My child is always sick. They sometimes vomit a lot. The flu never stops. It goes on and on and on. Even at summer, they get flu. We heard that the soil is radioactive, but we didn't understand. Then we understood it when they said the soil makes you sick. That's where we understood. We are now in fear. We are fearing for our lives.
Good afternoon. Am I speaking to the Department of Water and Sanitation? Well, I understand that you are busy, but there has to be sufficient capacity with your department in order to address environmental incidences, in specific if there are emergencies. When I observe that the organs of state that are mandated to protect the public, that these organs of state systemically fail, I feel very angered. I also feel angered by the fact that the God of love, according to the Bible, that it almost appears that God is indifferent to the plight of these communities, and that anger is in fact a motivating factor in my life. My parents were irreligious. My father was an atheist. I think it was a rebellious thing during my teenage years. I then became involved with Jehovah's Witnesses. And Jehovah's Witnesses, as you may know, is more like a cult. I think my personality is such that whatever I do to the extreme. And being a Jehovah's Witness, when I married my husband, we became missionaries, which means you walk from house to house every day, almost 7 days a week. And I had, during that time, also had 4 children, so I often would walk with my children from house to house. I breastfed also, often behind a bush as we were walking from house to house, because I'm a strong believer in breastfeeding. And I breastfed my children each for 4 years, which I think is unique. Jehovah's Witnesses are not liked. They are often viciously criticized. So I developed, I would think, courage to be outspoken and to be controversial. I would say you need perseverance. But then a very difficult time started in my life. It was at the time of my divorce, and at that time I anticipated that perhaps I would have the support of an organization which I have given my life for. But I was basically ostracized from Jehovah's Witnesses. So my whole social structure collapsed. So I had to find a new purpose for living, besides the fact that I had to struggle financially. I also felt betrayed by God. I felt that at the time where I needed assistance, that, well, God was not there. I had anger, that I must just say. I had anger against God. I had anger against Jehovah's Witnesses. I had significant anger against my husband. And that anger I could channel into my activism. And this activism made me feel worthwhile. It felt I belonged again. Good morning. My name is Mariette Liefferinck. I have an appointment with Mr. Holland, Mr. Nick Holland.
Okay, let me call you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Holland. Thank you very much for agreeing to see me.
At one point in time, we were the largest company by market value in the world, and we were the largest producer in the world by far.
Oh, yes.
This last year, we only produced about 140 tons.
Sorry, I want to get my pen because I would like to take some notes.
There's a pen over here.
No, that
That's a
pen
pencil.
is not writing. It doesn't
Can I give you a pen?
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
I'll give you a pen.
Thank you.
If you promise to give it back to me.
Cartier.
Mont Blanc.
Mr. Holland, there is a concern that I have. I have been meeting with farmers regarding the contamination of the wetlands and then the impact on the cattle. Not only on the cattle, but also allegations of impact on human health. May I just ask, have you investigated that? What do you see your responsibility in this regard?
There is a number of streams or brooks that sort of come together. The Loosspruit is probably the dominant area, and we know that there has been discharges of heavy metals that have actually consolidated on the base of the stream at the Loosspruit. That is a legacy that definitely has to be cleaned up somehow. And I think the mining industry hasn't yet got to grips with that together with government as to how we're going to do that. So certainly, again, you know, if we could rewind the clock and go back and start mining again, we would have done it very differently to what we're doing it today. The other thing I'd say about gold is that the one reason why I believe gold will always be relevant is because people always want to hedge against inflation. Governments continue to print money, but gold is finite. You can't print more gold, you know, so it is a valuable commodity. And I think over time, gold has held its value. So it's a good hedge against inflation. So you should buy some.
I love this place, you know. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It was nice in Blyfo back then. We had the golf course, the recreation clubs, our grounds, you know. It was a very wonderful place to live in. Everything all of a sudden just started to decline. White people started moving out. The directors and shareholders, they've made enough money from these mines. And they just, packed their bags, took their jackets and off they go. And they're not even bothered to look back and, to come back and help, We are faced with so many challenges around the village, The government doesn't just, pop in and come and help, They take their time as well, and the communities are left to fend for themselves.
This is the usual strategy of some of the mining companies, that you have this big mining company with healthy profits, with a healthy bank balance, but then they would fragmentalize many of their companies in sub-companies. Then each sub-company would be responsible for its own profits and its own liabilities. It's a wonderful ploy so that they can simply walk away if a sub-company is not profitable.
The illegal activities, it's been going on for a long time, since Eskom's disconnected the electrical supply. So, like in Rover Shaft was completely stripped. The headgear the whole surface infrastructure is gone. You'd go there and there used to be about 150 illegal miners there on surface just busy stripping.
Where we are standing, there's a maze of underground tunnels, and there are human beings. There are as many as 200 people there right now as we speak that come up every 3 days and change shifts every 3 days. And they are so-called zamazamas, or illegal, small-scale artisanal miners that are here.
Baningi abantu abashona njengalesikhathi esinye kuye kwavela ismoke. Bakhona abafayo khona uthola ithi amatshe, uthola ithi stone lapha siyawa lesi sikhona. Siyakhona ukuthi noma simkhiphe ngaphandle nabafowethu sikhona ukubiza imoto.
Sifika siqale isithimbe la endaweni kungozi la. Kungozi kakhulu ayisebenza khona. It's risky. Too much.
Lana ihola le. Iholo zakho umlungu lezi ayishaya lezi. Wayishaya ibhomu la uyabona? Wayishaya ibhomu la. isayini idrew ukuthi kuyawa le ndawo yabona anytime i-dangerous le ndawo ungozi wawa isayini ukuthi sokwawa kule ndawo
sazoyehla futhi
ya sazoyehlela ya
ayikho i-crate esingaphuka ngalo futhi
hayi alikho siyobuya khona la madwala la esiwa la kungozi kakhulu indawo esisebenza kuyo le yabona le ndawo i-risk uma uzi ukuthi abantu bayafile babulawa into ezifana nazo nalezi esifana nalawa amathi iwamahefa lapho kwakusala khona imali okungozi khona
sayaphansi
ya le ntambo lapho ubamba la nje sibuya nje sobamba le ntambo le ayiqinile ke le ntambo le ngoyenze lutho
South Africa is an extractive economy. South Africa is a mining-based economy. And if the history of this country, as complex and as dismal as it is really it's a history of mining. When gold was discovered in 1886, the Brits wanted it. So they invented a thing that created the Second Anglo-Boer War. And the purpose of the war was simply to give the Brits access to what was then the richest gold field in the world. And the primary purpose of it was to extract wealth out of the ground, to take that wealth to Britain.
Under apartheid, the government was sustained by mining.
Mining was of great strategic importance because the only source of revenue that flowed to the state at that point in time was taxes from mining. The mining industry was literally the lifeblood. And because of that, the government, instead of becoming the regulator of the mining industry, became a partner with the mining industry.
Mining is polluting not only our environment but also our politics with the conflicts of interest and so on that is there. And the question is, where did all this money go to?
Should we just leave the area to go down? We started taking care of the village ourselves, you know. Now we're facing those two challenges, the electrical issue and the water issue. Unfortunately, I don't get water at all. I depend on rain to get water. That's how I actually survive.
Mara if ni gena la camera ngeni madala mo. Mamata. Yo avula mezi.
Avanda sta revisione avanda seguita no. Pa fela o tena ora nel sa ta strada.
No, ne ka. You cannot phone an atelier. Simple.
I fail to understand why Jerry is doing this because we are the ones who are fighting this water thing. The next thing now he doesn't want me to give me access inside here. This is kak. This is kak.
Why maybe usachi maybe leave madala yena aspana kame.
Now I'm getting fed up. Honestly, I'm getting fed up. And whatever that you're saying, now it's just going over my head. I'm getting very angry. Ow. I'm getting very angry, honestly.
What?
Please stop. Wait. We are the ones fighting this water. Even if it wasn't for us, the life. Now I'm getting really fed up, honestly. I'm really getting fed up here. Now go patrol. Go patrol, honestly. This is not on. I'm gonna deal with it very quickly. Sasa machi vitompulela hii.
It's always sad to see a mining town where there is no more mining, how everything, can you see, becomes dilapidated. No more money to invest in infrastructure.
For whatever reason, you know, we met with Mariette. Then we didn't take it seriously because, you know, we were so swamped into issues of crime, social issues of the community.
In this area alone, 50 tons of uranium seep into the groundwater annually. Now, the informal settlement is there.
Just here,
yeah. So when it rains, the children come when the water pools in this area and swim in the water. Acid mine water causes impairment of cognitive functions. It causes cancers. This is totally inappropriate and also totally unsustainable.
The health hazard, we don't know about it, you know. Right now, we just sitting doing nothing. If people knows, you know, they can start approaching things differently.
And then tshwantse re kenye ntho tse le gore go be safe, otherwise nje dust ke yona e bona le wena o ka etsa asthma yes affecta le dust e white le ya bona. Okay. Asthma, sinus, abantu bayagula nje.
Is it?
Hey, Praquine. Yeah, again, Namu. I'm number 6 line, I'm Mojimu. It's been unattended for 4 years. I think we need to do something about this. We got dust. I mean, serious. Yeah, the better part of it, Mojimu, Mongila get dust take off. And one of our dust thing at the Somu village. Sharp. Okay. Now we'll do something about it. All right, sure.
Now, for me, just a normal person on the street there, what does this mean?
So the issue is the different size particles of dust that you would get, but you can still, that's the size of the dust.
Okay,
so
size of the dust,
if you take this sample and you go and test it and you find out the different size fraction of this material. The dangerous one is irrespirable because then it goes into your lungs. Yeah, it goes into your lungs and, you know, you can't get it out.
Now, my understanding is that the dust regulations do not cover the 2.5.
No, it doesn't. It only ends at 10. PM10.
So the most dangerous particles are not even regulated.
Not even, not even.
I can promise you one thing, 99% of these people staying there, they're not even aware of the implications of this dust. We're just right in the middle of it. Had we had our way, we could like vacate this place, but we've got nowhere to go. I mean, where will I go? My life is based here. You know, I grew up here, I was born here. So, I mean, something has to be done.
Now, let us say, Kuluma Batali, Sati Gettiness commit. We've been, from 2013. Mom Cash Al and it's Bakan. Namkan is going to be up to you to make sure that whatever has been happening in Plaifo continue happening. We've come a long way. And Pasoga Kona Batal Kukute. We're not going to vacate these houses.
These tailing storage facilities was double the size. Over this period of time, half of that had been either blown away or either flown into the Wonderfonteinspruit. It's not just a civil offence against an individual. It's a criminal charge it's an offence against communities, against the environment, against future generations.
What is happening here are the violations of the human rights. You live next to a radioactive and toxic dump. You've lived here for many years.
Dumela magolo. Jaaka ne re butse case go ntongo Human Rights Commission. So ke mmotsa hore na ba setse ba le haufa ka hore batho ba relocate ka tsela e ntseng right.
Are there any of you that want to come with me to the Legal Resource Center? Perhaps 2 or 3, that we can try to put pressure, because you see, we are not lawyers. We have to appoint lawyers to act on our behalf. And the lawyers we appointed is the Legal Resource Center. And now we can't push them because we don't pay for them. Okay. They do it free of charge. So we can only plead with them and ask them that they must accelerate the court case. The governmental departments, the state, is very well aware of the risks to their health, and nothing is done. It's acknowledged, but there is just a complete violation of their basic human rights. And it's just the sturdiness of government to relocate them, and I think that angers me.
We have laboured, we've lobbied, we've been involved in activism and whistleblowing, and we wish to ask your position statement regarding previous mine owners to carry responsibility, and I beg of you, if it is possible, to put on the water quality results on the public website the incidents. The wheels of justice turn slow. But I've always seen myself not as a sprinter, but as a marathon runner. So a marathon runner, there is time to fall, to get up again, to continue running. Because there's no fence, you can see it's open. We are not transgressing. And perhaps you can ask your CEO to come and meet us here. We would be very, very happy to meet with him.
Government appreciates that mining is a cornerstone of our economy.
We're trying to get the Department of Mineral Resources to try and clean up, but obviously that has not happened. And so now we're looking to intervene with the courts to try and force the state to actually go and clean up this radioactive dump.
There is a very collegial relationship between mining companies and government. Many politicians are shareholders in mining companies. Many politicians' family members are directors of mining companies. There is a psychological dependency of mining in South Africa, but there is still many unanswered questions.
First of all, I want to thank every one of you for coming here today. I think these meetings are very important. The objective is to empower communities, is for the realization of Section 24 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. That is the right to an environment that is not harmful to health and well-being. I also just want to appeal to you today, perhaps not only to find fault or to criticize, but to assist Goldfields so that while they are operational, that they can plow back benefits into this community, not just for now, but also for future.
So, Titimba, Otata Lucas bahlala besiza apha besibona indlela esiphila kuyo. Sihlala kwindawo enedust njenganamhlanje. Ndize kwindimama mama ndizawubhekisa kuwe zonke izinto izigxilise kuwe. Xa sithetha ngedust, nithi kanti siqasha phaya kodwa niyazi uba sizahlwiswa nini. Ndawubanjwa phaa kugesi nindiqasha kuloo contract. Anindivumi kodwa niyayazi uba it's because of your tailing.
Ne kopa le etse campaign e le reng le tla thusa bana ba ka probleme eo. Le clinicing le check stats le tla bona le sona hore se hodimo.
Indaba yasefama le kunefama kune-Donald's Dam there kwelaa cala lingaphaya ngako Biggestar. le into ayizukwenzeka le into asinibuzi siyanixelela kumele le nto ukuthi uyayasethusananga leya awuyezinye indawo leya into sisezawuyenza into nathi ibheke esidala siyakwazi ukuthi sifane nawo xa sizithulele ngabomi.
I would like to know, is the dust from the surrounding areas like your soccer grounds after they've been graded, or is the dust from the tailings? Okay, fine. Where I stay, there's also dust from the surrounding communities. There will be that element of dust. However, like I said, we will make a plan. We will try to water as much as we can. I'm not going to come here and argue, because I think he has also said that we shouldn't argue.
It was very important that the communities are aware of these issues, and community members now engaging on a regular basis with face-to-face with mining employees. But the mining companies realize that they will have to engage with the communities, and not just engage, that there has to be tangible benefits for these communities.
You know, from what is happening here, we're only hoping that the new owners of Blyfo will be able to take care of this mess.
Oh, hello, Richard. How are you?
Good to see you.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Mariette, what a surprise. How lovely to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thank you very much. There are some technical questions and some, well, the status of Blyfo, which I would like to ask. But perhaps first of all, which is, I think, of very pressing concern to many of us, is the dust fallout, that significant dust fallout. May I just ask, in your view, who should be held responsible or liable?
A very sensitive and very big question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we go back, this mine started in 1937.
Yeah.
So it's now nearly 80 years old.
Yeah.
So the bulk of the responsibility, in my mind, should go with the entity that put the dust. The bulk of it should go to
So the predecessor
deposited the sand. And then, of course, we now, the successive buyers, we've landed up with it. And so to some extent, we can't say we're responsible because we didn't cause it, but we're there to try and resolve it.
But you have purchased it,
Yes.
so in that case you now have the duty of care.
Yes.
Will you make financial provision for the rehabilitation of those footprints? Will you make financial provisions for latent or residual impacts, may I ask? Whether...
Yes.
In respect of the area on the footprint of our mining right, we've made provision for that, and we're in agreement with the DMO. Those outside of the
sorry, but those footprints, they fall within your mining right?
Which footprints are you referring to?
Slime dams 4 and 5.
Those fall outside of our mining right.
Now, who will do the rehabilitation?
I can't answer you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hello, Mariette. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Please come in and grab a seat.
Thank you. I noticed in the background is a...
That's a painting of me when I used to do motor racing. I was a racing driver, yeah.
So I would assume that you are a person that likes risks, challenges.
Well, I try and mitigate risks.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid of a challenge. Yeah. I'm also not afraid of a discussion like this because we should not be afraid of confronting the past, dealing with it, being transparent.
And may I just ask, who do you feel is primarily responsible for the remediation?
Well, it's not just ourselves. We've got a role to play. You know, these issues were created long before we were involved in mining. In fact, we've only recently owned some of these assets. Government has definitely benefited from very significant, revenues and taxes, and they need to assist us. If it's only left to the last man standing, there won't be a last man standing. Everybody will disappear.
It is not just impacts that are created by the current mining, but it also has a legacy issue.
The pollution arises from mines and companies that have long disappeared. And you cannot hold the present operator liable for the legacy that goes back for more than 100 years.
A very wide pool of persons can be held responsible and liable. That would be fair. You still find that there is no action being taken, and that is extremely frustrating.
The mining industry has come to an end.
Who will then carry the health impacts and the costs?
The poor. Because the government won't. Because our current government has demonstrated that they don't really care.
We want to establish a precedent here, a legal precedent, to show that the Department of Mineral Resources can hold previous mine owners responsible and liable. First, I went to the local police station and I laid criminal charges. I didn't entertain the hope that there would be prosecution because the police do not know how to prosecute environmental crime. But I had a surprise. The state decided to prosecute. That is unique. It's really quite a victory. The charges basically, it is failure of duty of care. If the judge sentences these directors, it would send a very strong message to all other directors of mining companies. But what is also, I think, very discouraging is the contempt of...
We were going to a piece job, me and my husband, and then that day we found that everyone from the shacks were standing and like they were holding a list and calling out names. And then I thought to myself, are we on that list? And then I said to my husband that time, I said, go in front and then look at the list and see if our name is there. And then he was like on the list, he was picking and like checking if our name is there, and he was like, is there? And I was at the back and saying, yes.
That night I didn't sleep because he's already packing, doing this, taking out something out, everything. I said to them, we must cook and sleep. He said, no. I just cleaning my pots, everything. Tomorrow is the day. At 7 o'clock morning time, he's just saying, it's you first. I just pick a truck to collect my things to come to this home. I was excited, too much excited. Until today, I'm still excited.
I felt that this was a case study that can be duplicated because this is not the only community living on a radioactive mine residue.
Ya, kuphuka. Waza kuleft wakho. Kuleft wakho. Manje ngamadolo ke manje. Kancane. Sekuyakhupukela. Ya. Aliko right. Angeke ungene 22. lana kuyakhuphuka lana bayakhuphuka ziyabuya mlo lana kumele sihambe siphumule bambelela ipipe ugxobe ngakuleft wakho uphethe isaka
We dig out the gold from holes here. They go and put it in a hole under the city of London, or they go and put it at Fort Knox. Hundreds of thousands of people daily spend their lives digging out the gold only for it to be flown out of the country and to be buried somewhere else.
The true cost of that mining, it's actually about the poorest of the poor that are left to pick up the health implications from a century of greed.
If you compare the benefits of gold mining, would you say that it was worth your while?
Overwhelmingly, yes. Because without that mining, there would be no Johannesburg. There wouldn't be 70 million people. There would still be open fields. And if we look at 70 million African people stuck in Africa without any form of food and without any hope going forward, that would be a terrible dilemma.
Kanti kusendlini la masilana sendlini yakuthi lana abathi asebenza phakathi lana ikwamatamati esiwaphekayo imilimili yethu yilena yabona lana ngikwesilala khona.
Mining the gold is a good thing. Yes, it's good for the country in a way, but it's not good for the people on the ground, unfortunately.
I do not see the mining companies or government as opponents, but that I feel I have an obligation to sway them to see what is ethical, what is moral, and what is also sustainable. People can change. Transformation is possible even within the mining industry, but it just needs constant reinforcement. I hope that there will be transparency, that we can follow the progress made, because by law, directors can be held responsible and liable. So as watchdogs, we will watch this space, that the impacts will not be externalized to future generations. I'm not against mining, but I'm against unsustainable mining.
Government has made a positive move to undertaking a long-term and permanent solution to the MD challenge.
It is slow, I admit it is slow, but there is definite changes.
Yes, I am Mariette. Hello. I'm Mariette Liefferinck. I've arranged with Mr. Neil Vroneman, and we are here with my daughter to take water samples.
There is nothing in this water. It's totally dead.
If we could have 100 Mariette Liefferinks in this country, that might have done a hell of a big difference too, because she's only one person, but she really worked hard, and I take my hat off for her.
Success to me is not just one big success, it's very many small successes. It can be likened to the stitches on a garment. Thousands of little stitches make one beautiful garment, not just one big stitch.